Uh, good, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, so it's 1 now. So let us start with the meditation for 10 minutes and then we go for our Sutta discussion. Okay. Uh, Sorry, I don't have a bell with me, so we can just sit. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So today's we are going to discuss the Nakulapitusutta. Everyone can see my screen? Okay, good. So this is Samyutta Nikaya, 22.1 Nakulapita. So the suttas we can read on the time when someone is on deathbed or sick. So this is why we decide talk about the suttas. Like last time when we had the sutta of mindfulness of death, we talk about when we passing away and it how our mindset is. It's really important. So uh, while you're passing away at your last breath, at your last moment, you should contemplate on Dhamma, not on samsara. So if you constantly think about samsara, you're putting some seeds to coming back in the samsara. So if you don't want to put that seed in the samsara to coming back, so you should contemplate on the Dhamma, on the all the impermanence thing. How did you practice? What was your marriage? So here, there's another sutta. It says Nakulapitusutta. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Thus have I heard, on one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling among the Bhaggas at Gira in the Pesakala grove, the deer park. Then the householder Nakulapita approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side, and said to him, I am old, venerable sir, aged, burdened with years, in life, uh, advanced in life, come to the last stage, afflicted in body, often ill. I rarely get to see the Blessed One, and the bhikkhu, worthy of esteem, let the Blessed One exhort me. Venerable sir, let him instruct me, since that would lead to my welfare and happiness for a long time. So he's asking because he's getting old and he knows that at one point he will be gone, he will pass away. So he's just making sure that he heard some uh, Dhamma from Buddha before passing away. And that's why he was asking Buddha that, please, sir, give me some Dhamma that I can contemplate on and I can uh, go with ease and with happiness, not with sorrow. So Buddha said, so it is a householder, so it is. This body of yours is afflicted, weighted down, encumbered. If anyone carrying around this body were to claim to be healthy even for a moment, what is that due to other than foolishness? Therefore, householder, you should train yourself thus. Even though I am afflicted in body, my mind will be unafflicted. Thus should you train yourself. So this is really beautiful. We do so many things for this body. We eat healthy food, we go to gym, we make sure everything is good. So much attachment with this body. But here Buddha is saying like this is foolishness. and and I think I should continue reading. We can continue later. Then the householder Nakulapita, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One's statement, rose from his seat and, having paid homage to the Blessed One, keeping him on the right, he approached the Venerable Sariputta. Having paid homage to the Venerable Sariputta, he said he sat down to one side, and the Venerable Sariputta then said to him, householder, your faculties are serene, your facial complexion is pure and bright. Did you get to hear a Dhamma talk today in the presence of the Blessed One? he's Bante Sariputta asking Nakula Pita that did he get any Dhamma talk from Buddha because his phrase is really right. Then he says, "Why not, Venerable Sir? I was uh, anointed by the Blessed One with the embroise of a Dhamma talk. With what kind of ambrosia of Dhamma talk did the Blessed One anoint you, householder?" "Here, Venerable Sir, I approached the Blessed One." The householder Nakulapita repeat his entire conversation with the Buddha. So what we heard so he repeats the same thing to Bhattacharya. "It was with the ambrosia of such a Dhamma talk, Venerable Sir, that the Blessed One anointed me. Didn't it occur to your householder to question the Blessed One further as to how one is afflicted in body and afflicted in mind, and how one is afflicted in body but not afflicted in mind?" Do anyone wants to comment on that? Can read again, and if anyone wants to comment on that. Yes. Oh, I see two hands. Okay. First, Daniel, please.
Thank you. This reminds me of a sutta that Ayasobana took us through. She did a little two-part series called "Dealing with Feeling" was the term, and it was on the Vedanas. And it talked about, I should have the reference, I'd have to look it up, but it talked about the difference between sort of an uninstructed worldling and noble disciple in terms of when they experience feeling, and that both are struck by the first arrow, which is an unpleasant feeling, but only the uninstructed worldling is struck by the second arrow, which is lamentation, beating one's breast, despair, etc., because of the unpleasant feelings. So this seems like it might be referring to that.
Okay, thank you. Now I invite Richard, please.
Thank you. Here, the Pali for mind is chitta. Actually, it's chittam, which is like a possessive, my mind, or one's mind. Chittam means state of mind. So, in other words, even if one's ill or sick or in pain or whatever, one should maintain a positive, relaxed state of mind and not kind of get carried away with it like that. Anyways, that's the point I wanted to make. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's like, so I feel like everyone giving their own experience here, and that's wonderful. So let's go beyond and let's see what Bhante Sariputta said, and then we can discuss about it more. So we would come from far away, Venerable Sir, to learn the meaning of this statement from the Venerable Sariputta. It would be good indeed if the Venerable Sariputta would clear up the meaning of this statement. Okay. Then listen and attend closely. Householder, I will speak. Yes, Venerable Sir. The householder Nakulapita replied, the Venerable Sariputta said this. How, householder, is one afflicted in body and afflicted in mind? Here, householder, the uninstructed worldling who is not a seer or the noble one and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, who is not seer or superior persons and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, regards from as self or self as possessing form or form as in self or self as in form. He lives obsessed by the notion, I am form is mine. As he lives obsessed by these notions, that form of his changed and alters. With the change and alteration of form, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and disappear. He regards feeling as self or self possession feeling or feeling as in self or self as in feeling. He lives obsessed by the notion, I am feeling. Feeling is mine, as he lives obsessed by this notion that feels of his changed and alters. With the change and alteration of feeling, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, and displeasure and despair. So again, here is like Buddha said, there is nothing me, I, me, my. So here is like whenever you say my, this is me, I. So with that um, perception, the sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair, everything is connect because you're attaching with those words, mine. So you feel like when I say mine, it will stay with me. It's mine. I have the rights on that thing that I only can change. No one else can do anything on that. So I feel like that's what Sariputta Panta is explaining here in the details. So next he says he regards perceptions as self or self as possessing perception or perception as in self or self as in perception. He lives obsessed by the notions. I am perception, perceptions is mine, as he lives obsessed by these notions. That perceptions of his changed and alters. With the change and alteration of perception, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Next, he regard volitional formations as self or self-possessing volitional formation or volitional formations as in self or self as in volitional formations. He lives obsessed by the notion, I am volitional formations. Volitional formations are mine, as he lives obsessed by these notions. Those volitional formation of his changed and altered. With the change and alteration of volitional formation, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Does anyone have any comment on this? On this trio form that we saw now? Yes, Doug, please.
Thank you, Aya. Maybe it's a little bit silly, but it makes me feel like because every once in a while, once in a great while, when I'm meditating, I can feel like I get smaller, right? Like in here, and like because you start, or well, I start not really connecting with my body. Maybe it's still weird, but it's just kind of pointing out that using maybe it's pointing out that maybe using these terms in this way reinforces connection to like the thoughts and other phenomena that come across our mind. And that maybe perhaps changing our own language when we speak to ourselves about these things could help assist us in separating from them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's wonderful. And I think it's not only you, everyone have that stage when we new and we are starting it. I think that's the basic step for everyone to go through from that thing. Please, Sumangala.
Thank you. Well, I just think he's just showing us the five aggregates. And if we look at the five aggregates with anicca, dukkha, and anatta, then you realize that you just have to let go of all those things because they're impermanent, causes suffering, and we're not a self. So he's just showing us a way of letting go.
Mm-hmm. True. That's the point. You have to be mindful with everything. It's like everything is impermanent and you have to let go. So that's why we have to practice. Oh, Richard, please.
Thank you, Aya. These are just variations on mana conceit. This is mine, this I am, this is myself. So, and that's why he first mentions the four, but then at the end, he just mentions the two, you know. If I can find it here. obsessed by these notions. I am form, form is mind, form is mind. So he just bring it back, really just down to those, down
Mhm.
to those. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And thank you
Oh.
very much.
Thank you. Daniel, please.
Yes, I think one of the things that
Yes.
kept me coming back to Dhamma was when I first listened to a Dhamma talk was Ayasobana was leading it, and it was on anatta and it was on the self. And I was familiar with that concept insofar as I'd read about it, I'd heard it in other traditions. But what made it really unique was sort of connecting with kind of the deeper meaning of it. That I think a lot of times as Westerners we can read about the khandas and it seems very abstract and very like volitional formation. That's not something we say in English. Like there's no, if you said volitional formation to someone, they'd say I have no idea what you're talking about. And so it was really helpful listening to her and kind of going through the Pali and understanding that essentially, for me, at least in my experience, one, that anatta isn't so much a philosophical concept as it is something you need to experience directly yourself. It's an experience. And also that really the five khandas are the entirety of human experience, whether physical in our minds or a combination of them, whether pleasant, unpleasant, everything in between, like all we kind of experience as human beings and as this phenomenal conditional world are part of some combination of the five khandas. And that was really helpful for me for feeling like, oh, anatta started making more sense now because it always just seemed so abstract in the past. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone. You all have some wonderful, your own experience, your own opinion on that. And I agree, everyone don't have the same experience in even Buddha's time. Everyone getting enlightened, everyone is attaining one stages by their own understanding, even if Buddha giving same teachings, but there's like different understanding on that. And it's like we don't have to stick with on one thing, like, okay, because it's said like that, so I have to understand like that way only. So it's just we are forcing it. So it's we will not understand until we practice it. Of course, we have to practice it. And of course, we have to observe how we take it from the teachings and how we can reflect on it in our daily lives and how we can help ourselves and in to others. So this is like for me, if you tell me to if this is long suttas and if I read through the whole sutta, sometimes I feel stuck. I don't understand like why this is so long suttas. Like just tell me like, okay, this is not your body. So if it's not your body, how all the things that coming from this body or coming through this body is become yours, right? So it doesn't make any sense. So it's like, okay, that's really direct. So some people needs really deep explanation for that, and some people just need a short sentence. So there is a one book called Milinda Panha, Milind Prashna. So it says like there's a King Milinda. He asked many questions to Bante Naksen. Yes. So he asks whenever he asks question, he asks one question, but he need 10 answers for that. He doesn't understand in one answer. He was like, okay, okay, I don't understand. Explain me more. So then the Bhante will explain again. Then he say, "Oh, I don't understand. Please explain me more." So it's like if you read that book, there's a one question, but there's a 10 answers because the King Milinda is like, "No, I don't understand. Please explain me more. I don't understand. Please." So there is people like that also that they don't get it at one point, but they need really clarification, whatever they're listening, or is it correct, or is it any other point of view that we can see through it, right? So yeah, that's thank you everyone for sharing your experience. That's really wonderful, and I really appreciate all of your sharing your thoughts. So now, next, he regards consciousness as self, or self as possessing consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness. He lives obsessed by the notions I am consciousness, consciousness is mine, as he lives obsessed by these notions that consciousness of his changed and altered. With the change and alteration, of consciousness, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. It is in such a way, householder, that one is afflicted in body and afflicted in mind. And how, householder, is one afflicted in body but not afflicted in mind? Here, householder, the instructed noble disciple, who is seer of noble ones and is skilled and discipled in their Dhamma, who is seer of superior persons and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, does not regard form as self or self-possession, form or form as in self or self as in form. He does not live obsessed by the notion I am form, form is mine, as he lives unobsessed by these notions. That form of his changes and alters. With the changed alteration of form, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. He does not regard feeling as self or self as possessing feeling, or feeling as in self or self as in feeling. He does not live obsessed by the notion, I am feeling, feeling is mine, as he lives unobsessed by these notions, that feeling of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of feeling, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and disappear. He does not regard perception as self or self as possessing perception or perception as in self or self as in perception. He does not live obsessed by the notions. I am perception, perception is mine, as he lives unobsessed by these notions, that perception of his changed and alters. With the change and alteration of perception, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. He does not regard volitional formations as a self or self as possessing volitional formation or volitional formations as in self or self as in volitional formation. He does not live obsessed by the notions I am volitional formation. Volitional formations are mine, as he lives unobsessed by these notions. Thus, volitional formations of his change and alters. With the change and alteration of volitional formations, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and disappear. He does not regard consciousness as self or self as possessing consciousness or consciousness as in self or self as in consciousness. He does not live obsessed by the notion, I am consciousness, consciousness is mine, as he lives unobsessed by these notions, that consciousness of his changes and alter. With the change and alteration of consciousness, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and disappear. It is in such a way, householder, that one is afflicted in body but not afflicted in mind. This is what the Venerable Sariputta said, elated the householder Nakulapita, delighted in the Venerable Sariputta's statement. So, anyone have comment on this part? Yes, Doug, please.
Thank you. I just kind of had a question. Because he's saying like I am not consciousness, and consciousness is not me, and I'm like maybe I'm just struggling to grasp what exactly that means because there is something doing something inside of my skull, and would that be consciousness or not? So that part just kind of confused me a little bit.
Do anyone have experience in that or have any comments? Oh, Richard, please.
Thank you, Raya. This is actually a bad translation. Bhikkhu Bodhi, in his lecture series on the Majjhima Nikaya, which he did, I think, about 20 years ago, this came up in one of the lectures. And Bhikkhu Bodhi was saying that consciousness is not really good translation, and they were trying to figure out what might be a good translation. And someone said cognition, and Bhikkhu Bodhi reacted like that, like, no, not cognition. But then a few seconds later, he said, wait a minute. And the reason he said, no, cognition, actually, that is the best translation. And the reason is that in the Pali, this word, vijnana, is used in all different ways. But consciousness is not used in all different ways. We don't say someone is consciousnessizing or something like that, right? It's conscious or consciousness, that's about it, you know? And but cognition, you can say he's cognitive, he's cognizing, you know, it fit, Bhikkhu Bodhi says, it fit all the uses of the variations of vijnana. So unfortunately, what this has led to is to people thinking that somehow in enlightenment, there's nothingness. Consciousness is going to like go out. No, it's cognition that's going to go out. And that's why cognitions are temporary, right? Like, okay, I'm talking right now. You're hearing me talk, whatever. You're looking at your screen, whatever. Those are all, and they're coming and going, bang, 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 constantly. They're coming and going, whatever it is you're cognizing. But that consciousness, right, is staying. Okay, you don't wake up one day and think, oh, I'm something totally different today. You know, when you, after you sleep at night, or even when you're dreaming, you know, right? It's that same point of view. And so this is very important here. Anatta does not mean no self. That's another error. And Bhikkhu Bodhi also brings this up. And he says there's nowhere in the suttas where Buddha says that there's no self. Anatta means not or non-self. So the five khandhas are non-self. Within form, there's the four, what they call elements. I really prefer to call them states: solidity, liquidity, warmth, and gaseousness, right? 4 states, okay? So he says those are non-self. He says the 6 senses, right, which includes the brain. The brain, in terms of the body, is also called mana, okay? So there's the mana and then the other 5 senses, the one internal and the other 5 external. He says those are also non-self. He also says chitta is non-self. There's actually a sutta where one person says that he believes in a self, and Buddha says, oh, what self do you posit? He didn't say there's no self. He just asked him, what do you think is the self? And the individual said, oh, I think the chitta is the self, the state of mind, okay? And Buddha said, the chitta, he says, that's changing constantly every second, right? 1 second you're happy, next second you're sad. He says, if you're going to try to posit a self in that way, you might as well just say the body is the self, because at least that lasts for a long while. And that's what confuses you and distracts you into thinking it's a self, because it lasts for a long period. He's not saying he agrees with that, but he's just saying that, you know, if you're going to make that kind of mistake, you should go with this. But but there's one thing that Buddha never says is non-self anywhere in the suttas, and that's the ceta, the mind. And it's known the highest form of liberation before total liberation is ceta vimukti, freeing the mind. Okay, so when the mind is completely free, then you think, oh, it is free, and then knowledge arises. You know, and ignorance is banished, right? It's like the sun, when the sun arises, darkness is banished. So this has become a big error in Buddhism. And one of the things that makes it very hard for people to understand exactly what Buddhism is and exactly what enlightenment is, these mistranslations of words. And that's not a complete fault of modern scholars. That's errors that crept in over time after Buddha passed away in commentaries and other things. The Visuddhimagga, and a lot of them, you know, use these words in a wrong way. And these literatures and these commentaries were written many hundreds of years, you know, after the Buddha passed away. And by that time, the real understanding of Buddhism was kind of like fading away. Because in Buddha's day, it was totally common to become what's known today as a stream enterer, a sotapan. I prefer to say hearing enterer, because if you read all the sutras, you'll find out there's no place in the sutras where someone entered sotapan while meditating. It's always while hearing someone speak on the Dharma. They hear something and it clicks in their mind. Oh, I get it now. And the basic understanding is that all dhammas subject to arising are subject to cessation. That's not all dhammas. That's the one subject to arising and subject to cessation. Buddha says what's translated as ignorance, but I prefer incomplete knowledge, avidya, that no first cause for avidya can be found. Okay, so, but you can end avidya though by what? By vidya, getting correct knowledge, by seeing the universe, seeing dharma, seeing objective reality for exactly what it is. You can free your mind. So that's why it says, all dhammas subject to arising are subject to cessation, but not all dhammas. Same thing with the Chaita. Buddha never says the Chaita arises and subsides or anything like that. So anyway, these are my points of view based on my study and my own experiences. But it's just something to think about. You can accept or reject as you see fit. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, no, thank you, Richard, for highlighting those things. I also didn't know about this translation. Thank you so much for bringing that. It's really helpful for us also to make sure to presenting the correct things. Thank you so much. I appreciate for that. Please, Daniel.
One thing I wanted to add based on the but for some reason, even though Bhikkhu Bodhi acknowledged there's a bad translation, because this was done before he did his other translations, when basically he just had Majjhima Nikaya out. He never went and changed it in any of his other translations. And I think it was because it would have been so radically different from the way anybody else was translating that he's a little bit diplomatic. Because I listened to his lectures many times, about 20 times I listened to his lectures on the Majjhima Nikaya, about I think it's 200 something lectures. And I can see the way he approaches certain things. He's kind of careful, and there's a certain amount of diplomacy. He doesn't want to cause too much controversy and rock the boat like that. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm not saying that's bad or good. I'm just saying that that's something. Anyway, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Daniel, please.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. I think a lot of what Richard says I echo, both in just that the translation is hard to find English equivalents, and also even just the sort of ancient designation of all these forms creating an identity is not a very modern thing, like we have a Western understanding, which is usually like very Cartesian, which is body mind, right? Or that's kind of Judeo-Christian. And so sometimes it's hard you don't just translate the words, you also have to translate like the concepts and the culture. And so like, for example, for a long time, I thought feeling was emotion, right? Because that's what you understand in English is when you say I'm feeling sad, that's how you say it. And so for a long time, I thought one of the aggregates feeling was emotion. And it was only more recently that I learned, oh no, it's better translated to sensation. But I think, just to touch on what Doug was asking, I think the reason why this stuff can be hard to understand is that to truly, completely understand it is to be enlightened, right? That is the final stage when you have completely understood and internalized the impermanence of these things. So we'll always have an impartial understanding until that final step. And also just to me, at least what was most helpful to me is that when Buddha is confronted by people who say, what's the self? Or has some kind of question about the self, like, does the Buddha exist after death? Does the Buddha not exist after death? Does the Buddha both exist and not exist? Does the Buddha neither exist nor exist? In each case, the Buddha says, nope, 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 none of those. And when they finally say, what gives? What do you mean? Like, how can it be none of those things? The Buddha refers to the 12 steps of dependent origination. And I remember first reading it and feeling like that's kind of a cop-out. Like you didn't answer his question. You just pointed to the 12 steps. Like that's not. And then realizing that what he's saying is there's this great chain of causes and effects and processes that we constantly are swirling around and through and in. And I have looked at all those things, and at no point have I seen a self in there. At no point was there a step where a self brought it from one step to the other. All I have seen is this phenomena over and over again. And therefore, that's what he's trying to point to. And so I think when I think about the human self or our perception of self, I think of the entirety of human experience are all the impermanence, states and impressions and thoughts and stories we tell ourselves, all these flowing, changing things that come together to create self, that's what we need to let go of. In there is no self hiding in there for us. It is just a series of cause and effect. And when we can finally accept and let go of that, we can accept and let go of self and find enlightenment. But again, these are my own views. I don't want to pass it off and say the Buddha said. This is just, what I've understood in my short time practicing. Thank you.
That's wonderful. I think that's wonderful. I like about the Buddha. It's like he never give you the whole answer. He will let you experience, and he will have you the suffering, like what he exactly want to say, right? It was like, okay, if I will say, okay, salt tastes like this or sugar tastes like this. He was like, oh, how it tastes like that? I don't believe you. It looks different, but how you say this tastes like that? But until you taste it, you don't know what exactly I'm trying to say. So I was like, Buddha was like, before teaching, he makes sure that that person tastes that thing, that what he's trying to say, to understand it properly. In most of the suttas, he didn't explain everything. He just say, okay, in Kisa Gotami, we saw like her son died, and she's going to all around to people like, please bring my son back. I want my son back. And I like how Buddha give her a task, like bring what do you call that seeds? I forgot. In English, it's really hard for me to remember those.
Mustard seed, if I
Mustard
remember
seed.
correctly?
Yes, mustard seed, yes. So Buddha told her to go and find a house where no one have died and bring the mustard seeds. So I will bring your son back to life. And it's wonderful. Like after going every house, and she couldn't find any single house there where no one have died. And then in last, she realized what Buddha actually wanted to tell her, and that that's really profound. I really like that kind of teachings. So it's like I also try to do that experiment in my life also, when people come and ask questions and things, and I was like, okay, let me ask you a question first before you ask me the question, and then you give me the answer, and then maybe I will give you answer from that. So that's really fun also, and that's really good experience also, because everyone have their own experience, and uh, how to say, their own point of view on things to see. As a monastic, I have this different point of view, different perspective. I have completely different life, and the lay people also have completely different life, and it's wonderful to see, like when both of come together and try to walk on the path. So it's like I have this point of view, and lay people have different point of view. And when I'm trying to say something, I was like, no, this is not like that. This is like that, because we lay people and we have these difficulties in our life, and we monastic, no, this is not like that. We monastic also have these difficulties in our life. So okay, so both have come together. Okay, you gave this solution, and I give you the solution, and let's go together on the path, like how to help each other be in harmony. And I think that's why Buddha said the fourfold Sangha, the fourfold assembly is really important. It's like uh, monastic, as a monastic, I don't know what lay life looks like, because I most of my whole life been in the path. So you see, like the master said, I don't even remember, because if you ask me to, I even don't know how it is. Maybe if I see it, maybe I will know. But if you say, okay, master said, I don't know what it is. So and people will not believe it. So, uh, but this is my life, because I ordained when I was 7. So it's like now my whole life is going on this journey. I never been to kitchen. I never cooked the things. I never buy stuff. So it's like, if you ask me, okay, go and buy stuff, I'm not good at that. Not at all. So then I need someone to rescue me for that. Okay, I will help you to buy things. So, there's a really different things in everyone's different life. And that's wonderful, like how we support each other with the words. With the physically, with mentally. And for the monastic, we do also have some kind of difficulties in our own path. It's not like, okay, because monastic are so free from samsara, they don't have any difficulties. No, it's not that. It's like we are here because we also want to be free from the suffering. We also want to be from the samsara. So until we don't get enlightened, So it means we have some kind of sufferings, right? So I tell people, don't expect that monks don't get angry, or monks don't get not cry, they don't laugh. I mean, we all have that feelings, we all have that sensations and attachments, right? Because we are still on the path, we're still walking onto it. But people, when they see monastic, they feel like, okay, you overcome from all the sufferings, you are already free, you are in the monastic life, your life is so easy, you don't have any problems. I was like, no, this is so wrong view. That's not completely true. You live a monastic life, and then you will understand how monastic life looks like. Even I don't live the lay life, but I know how difficult lay life is also, because most of lay people come and when they talk about the difficulties, so we know. And I really appreciate for everyone's support and everyone's guidance, like how they're ready to help the sangha even when they have so many sufferings in their own life. And that's really blessing, I think, to have a people who's really supportive towards that sangha. And now, at some point, now I'm understanding why Buddha said, like, if among the four pillars, one pillar is gone, the Dhamma will not be balanced. To the Dhamma keep growing, we need the fourfold assembly, and it's really wonderful to see uh, it's growing together, right? Well, I am seeing the Richard. Please, sorry.
Thank you, Aya. Just to add a little bit to what Daniel said, that people may not make the connection. Based on ignorance, or as I prefer to say, incomplete knowledge, the mind, ceta, has a volition, a cetana, and that cetana is a sankhara. So when it's saying from ignorance or incomplete knowledge comes sankhara, you have to include that mind, ceta, and its volition, cetana. And Buddha says many places in the sutta, sankharas arise by cetana, okay? That type of mental sankhara. There's some sankharas that are just derived other ways, like a billiard ball hits another ball or something, boom. So that, in a sense, that's sort of like an action reaction, thing that happens, right? But these mental sankharas that are going to cause you to think about taking birth as a human being. Because when Buddha discovered this, his problem was he had gone all the way up to the highest known level of formlessness. And he's sitting there. His problem, he told the teacher, was, okay, you brought me to this highest level of formlessness, but all that's going to do is qualify me to take birth in that realm. But how do I keep from coming back here again? And Buddha talks about that people come out of the formless realm and eventually end up back in the human realm. There are suttas where he discusses that. So that was his problem. He said, so this cannot be nibbana, because if it was nibbana, right, it's not going to be a temporary thing. It's going to end that cycle of samsara. So that was his problem with that attainment. So it's important to understand that under the influence of this primordial, avidya, incomplete knowledge that has no first, Buddha says there's no first cause, okay? It's like when a little baby is born, it doesn't hardly know anything, right? So you can't say, well, what was the first cause of that baby not knowing something? Well, it doesn't know anything, you see? So the mind has to develop by experience, which eventually ends up, Buddha says, in experiencing dukkha. And if one penetrates that dukkha sufficiently, one makes the turn and starts going the other way, up towards liberation and enlightenment. So from this primordial incomplete knowledge, right, your mind, ceta, has an imaginary idea, and that's a sankhara of being a human being, a man or a woman. Because he said that was what he was dealing with. I'm a human being now, what caused me to be in this situation? Then he comes, birth, right? I'm facing old age, disease, and death. He's talking about his human experience. Birth, right? And then he goes back upwards. That's how he finds it. He doesn't start at the top because he doesn't know what the top is at that point. He doesn't understand that. he has to go back up the chain. But we can look at it now because then he meditates on it back and forth and everything, and he explains it, right? So from that idea, oh, I want to be a human being, right?
Mm-hmm.
That when an idea comes up in your mind, this is a scientific fact. The idea comes up first, and then a fraction of a second later, your cognition of it arises. They know this from putting people in MRIs and other kinds of things that can see brain activity. They can see and then ask them, okay, when did that idea occur to you? They push a button or something, but they see, no, the brain activity comes up first, and then the person, clicks the button or whatever. So they know that the cognition of the idea like floats up, and then you have a cognition of it. And that cognition, right, is of the name and form. Name is a symbolic representation. It's an idea. It's an idea of form, because you're thinking, I want to be a man, I want to be a woman, or something like that, right? So that, and then that name and form has 6 senses. These aren't operable at this point. This is all just mental process at this point, okay? They don't become operable until after birth. Then you have your 6 senses, right? They start to form in the becoming stage, right? But, just before birth. So, so the idea of the 6 senses, how you want them to work, because that's what you want to enjoy. You want to enjoy the various sense sensations, right? And so from the 6 senses comes the ability to contact. And that contact allows you to experience, pleasure. And that pleasure causes you to crave. And that crave, right, causes you to grasp, right? Grasp things, okay? And that grasping, you start putting things together. You start looking for a place to take birth. You're grasping after, you're looking, where can I go to take birth? Okay? And so from that grasping, you start connecting yourself to a fetus in the womb at a certain point. Now, in my opinion, this is at the time of the quickening. After 6 months, the fetus starts to become active in the womb. That's when the colus callosum of the 2 sides of the brain come together, okay? So that the brain acts as a whole. At that point, the baby starts moving around and stuff in the womb. That's when the Gandharva, right, the mental made being, can enter into the womb. And then finally it takes birth. And then once you take birth, you have to face old age, disease, and death. And that's why birth is also a dukkha, because it leads to old age. It's not that it's just suffering within itself. It leads to old age, disease, and death, which are all dukkha, right? And my view is that the word dukkha really means bad results. So you're trying to get to sukha. Buddha's teaching you how to get to sukha, where you only have good results, okay? So a completely enlightened being only has 2 results. Now, it can be kind of confusing. There are 2 levels of enlightenment in Buddhism. Sotapan is the first level of enlightenment. Arahant is the second. So then you might say, well, what about once returner, no returners? Those are accomplishment stages. If you become a once returner, that means you have mastered the jhana to the point, the 4 jhanas, where you will you let go of sensual desire for the physical realm, and you'll take birth in Brahma's realm. So that's 1 more return into the Brahma realm. If you master the 4th jhana to the point where you can do the formless attainments, and that becomes your state of mind, when you pass away, you'll become a non-returner. You'll go to the formless realms. But you have to be a sotapan to ensure that going to the formless realms or going to Brahma's realms eventually is going to lead in nibbana. Okay, so because other yogis can also attain these realms, but they don't have the 4 noble truths, the reason, right, why you want to do such a thing, to free yourself. Okay, they're just some of them may be thinking of these various stages, like the Buddhist teachers. They thought that those stages of formlessness, that was nibbana. But other people even think just this body. There are sutras where the Buddha asks, well, what is nibbana to you? Oh, just this healthy body. How some people think just living healthy out in nature that's like liberated, experience, right? Well, there were yogi type guys in the Buddha's time that thought that same thing, just being very healthy and everything, living out in the nature. Oh, that's nibbana, right? And then all these different stages along the way, different people misunderstood as nibbana, nibbana, nibbana. But Buddha says, no, complete liberation and freedom of mind, that's nibbana, without any desire to misidentify mana, misidentify, this is mine, this I am, this is myself, and to come back and take either a formless experience or a form experience like that. Anyways, I'm trying to compact a lot of things in so you can kind of see the big picture from my point of view. But anyway, hopefully that'll be helpful to you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. I was just looking some comments. It's on the YouTube. It's from John Rivers. He's saying a self would not age. And he mentioned that Buddha said mendicants from form, feelings, perception, choice, and consciousness are not self. And then third one, he said, seers do not choose to see. So I think, Richard, it was while you were talking, so maybe you want to answer this? Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, well, again, we need to correct that word. It's not consciousness, it's cognition. Cognitions are coming and going, just like these other of the khandhas, are coming and going in the same way. As a matter of fact, Buddha says, I believe it's in the Samyutta Nikaya, there's a section where he compares the first 4 khandhas to fields. And because different kinds of fields allow different types of plants to grow there, like very sandy soil is good for melons, and certain dark black type soil is good for cotton or something like that, and paddy marshes are good for rice. So there's different kinds of fields produce different things, and so one field is good for form to arise in, and another field is good for sensation to arise. Another field is good for perception to arise. Another field is good for sankhara. But he says consciousness underlies these things. So when the sensual experience happens to your senses, right, you're cognizant of that. When you feel a sensation, right, you're cognizant of that. You're cognizant of your body, even if you're not so much feeling a sensation, right? When a perception arises, you're cognizant of that. When a sankhara arises, that's why it says from sankhara comes cognition. You're cognizant of that, right? But you can also be cognizant of cognition. So it's kind of a subtle thing. He doesn't separate it out as another field, because it's sort of like you'd almost go into an endless loop. I don't know if you know anything about programming, but if you don't program right, you program can go in endless loop. Cognizant of cognition of cognition of cognition, you're just going. But so he's just using the other ones there. But consciousness, okay, I can't think of the Pali word. It's like, I think it's Sutta, S-A-T-A, from which sati, memory comes. Okay, so you have to be conscious in order to access your memories, I think. And beings, sata, which is 2 T's, sounds the same, but there's 2 T's in there. That's beings. Many people think the word bhava means being. No, bhava means becoming, and bhavana means the way to become something. Like you practice. A lot of times it's translated in English as the word practice. So bhavana, how do I become something? Well, you want to be a good whatever athlete or something. You got to practice your sport. You want to be a good, in some kind of knowledge or something, right? You got to go over and over and go deeper and deeper and deeper and remember more and more. That's why satta, from satta, being, comes memory. So memory is a key. That's why we should translate it as mindfulness, but that awareness of your memory, like that. Now, what was the other statement? I'm not totally familiar with that statement. There was a second part of that.
It's just like seers do not choose to see.
I wonder, Richard, if that is in reference like seeing with no seer, that expression.
Yeah, that sounds almost like a Vedic. The seers, the people who wrote the Vedas down. Buddha calls them that too. He describes them as the seers. So that may be some kind. I would have to see where the reference exactly is coming from in the suttas. But it could just mean, just like consciousness, the five senses, you might say, are natural quality. I don't know if quality is the right word, but they're just a natural thing that comes out, of the mind. It's like the formless state, neither perception or non-perception. Many people misunderstand what this means. What it means is that you have withdrawn your perception from the external, but you're still perceiving internal. You can still think internally, and thoughts and visions and things are still arising in your mind, because in the formless realm, they say that you don't have the lower senses, but you still have hearing, vision, and thought, mana. So you still have those things going on there. So you withdraw the first couple of formless experiences, like, boundless space, right? Right now we're bounded space, right? My body is only so big, your body is only so, that's a boundary, right? You don't go beyond that. Now you lift yourself out of the first four elements, right? You don't have elements anymore, so you just have space. So here you are, you're conscious still in space, but without seemingly any body to support that, right? Because you're used to having a body to support it. Then you realize that you are cognizing. Hey, wait a minute, I'm still cognizing, even though I don't have any senses or anything that supposedly is going through, right? It's still going on. So I don't know, maybe they're referencing that way. Maybe they didn't explain a little bit more what they meant by that, or where they got that quote from, or something like that. And so in the same way, the third stage of formless, they call nothingness. That's really not the correct translation. Bhikkhu Bodhi said one time in his lecture series, he says, even though he translates this as nothing, he says it really means to be unstuck, because you've left what they call the six elements, but I prefer to call them six states, right? Of matter, etc. You've left that behind. You've unstuck. You've freed yourself from it, right? So it's just you're like Chaita, but it's still this idea of expanse. So now you close off the external to the expanse and only focus internally, because the whole thing is they're trying to reduce perception. You'll see this in the sutras. They're trying to reduce, with each one of these things, they're trying to reduce the perception, because they're seeing perception as the barb. It's the thing that's causing a problem. So they're reducing perception. So they reduce the external perception, but they still have the internal perception. And that's the difference between what Buddha discovered just before his enlightenment. He discovered the fifth formless level. And he says that in there's no perception in the way that we think of it, okay? Because nothing's arising. It's just pure mind, just pure mind. But it's when the Chaitana causes a sankhara to arise, that's when it becomes a subjective objective. So it's just pure subjectivity when you're in cessation, pure subjectivity. And you're fully aware and everything, but nothing is arising. You're just pure mind, pure Chaita. And but if your mind starts moving a little bit towards something, that's a sankhara. So the sankhara begins to arise, because you haven't attained complete enlightenment, or you don't have an enlightened reason to move your mind. Buddha still formulated sankharas. He went around, taught the Dharma and all kinds of, that's a type of sankhara, but it's not a bound sankhara. He was trying to help others unbind themselves. He was already unbound, but he was trying to help you unbind yourself. So he had these bodies, right? This is our vehicle, our communication, right? Our way we communicate to deal with. So he thought, okay, let me go and talk to this person, my friend, or let me go and talk to this person, my ex-teacher, or whatever, people that he knew, right? Mostly initially in the beginning. Anyways, I probably talked too long. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Anyone have any comments on that? welcome anyone to have give any comments, what you think, what you feel. Still, we have 15 minutes.
I can speak, if it'd be
Yes,
helpful.
please. Yes.
I guess one time I had my own kind of experience of this, which was helpful, where I was meditating and a really loud car drove by. It's like blasting music. And in an instant, I noticed there was form, right, which was my ear, which is the form aggregate or part of it. There was sound externally, which is an external form. There's contact between them, so I hear. Then very shortly thereafter, there's Vedana, feeling, right? The feeling aggregate, which is in this case an unpleasant feeling. Oh, it's loud, it's disruptive, it's hurting my meditation. And then right after that, there's perception, which is recognition of what's happening, which is to my mind, this sound is coming from a loud car. That's what this is. I've heard it before, or something like it. Then there's volitional formations or impulses. Sometimes you could translate it, depends, but your body, speech, or mind, right? Depending on how serious they can be, will or choices. And there was a mental volitional formation, which was, oh man, I wish I could punch that car off the road, or I wish I could shut it up. And then there's consciousness or cognition of the desire, the concept, the mental concept of doing such a thing, pushing the car off the road or getting rid of it, something like that. And all this happened almost instantly, right? And I think what was really helpful for me in my understanding of Anatta is it also happened without my control. The car I had no control over, the sound and the form and the impulse and everything, boom, it arose instantly, completely on its own. And I think for me, it was helpful to realize if I don't control these things, if these phenomena just happen, then they couldn't possibly be myself. Because if they were myself, I'd control them, because that's what it is to have a self. And so when I think about control, or if we were our body, if our body was ourself, then we would control our body, and we constantly are out of control of our bodies. And so anyway, that experience and the kind of thinking on it was really helpful towards thinking about, oh, right, these things can't be myself. They just happen. They happen to me almost. They happen around me. And it's the identification with them that becomes the suffering, the unhappiness, that this is my anger at a car. This is my painful feeling. This is my frustration with someone who is being loud too early in the morning. And that's when now it's a self. Now it's a drama. It's a story of Daniel being interrupted while meditating by the loud guy. And if you can let go, then you realize there's no need for a story. There's no self here. There's just this phenomena that happened in the blink of an eye, and then it's gone. The car drove by and it's over. So anyway, that was an experience I had, a little while ago that felt like it was seeing the khandhas almost in motion in a moment. Anyway.
Thank you, Daniel. That's really important. When once we are practicing, it's really important to see what's going inside and outside, and reflecting on that quickly. That's really important. If you are not reflecting what's going on outside and inside, I don't think you can improve in that. It's like once you reflect on that, it gives you the clear vision, like how it's arising and how you can deal with that thing. And I like the way Ajahn Chah said, like one time, some monks were meditating in the forest monastery, and nearby the village, people were like some festival. They were playing loud music and dancing and singing. And some monk came to Ajahn Chah and they say, "Oh, Ajahn Chah, we trying to meditate, and this loud music, the loud noise is disturbing us. We can't focus on our meditation." And so many things like complaining about that. And Ajahn Chah said, like, the sound is not disturbing you. You are the one who's disturbing the sound. You know? So like, okay, that's something like we never thought about that way. It's like, okay, until I don't give the importance, that the sound will not uh, bother me at all. So in our daily life also, if we see sometime people sleep in really loud place, they can sleep so peacefully. And when I see those people, it's like, how can you sleep like that? I was like, I'm really light sleeper. If something little voice, I will wake up. And if you tell me to sleep somewhere near the roadside, I was like, no, I can't, because I need a really peaceful place to sleep. So you see, it's not the sound, it's me. It's me who's giving the importance to the sound and getting to attach you with that. So this is just the perspectives of each of us, that how we see things, but how we reflect on that. And now I'm trying to work on myself, like how I can work and sleep when even where there's a sound. But it's really difficult as a monastic, because you always live alone, always in seclusion, no sound, no noise. So it's also a suffering for us when we go out, when we have that situation. It's really, really suffering. So yeah, I really, really appreciate that practice to reflect on ourselves whenever we are in this kind of situation. Just reflect, pause for a moment, and see from where it arising. And once you know from where it's arising, you know how to stop it from arising again, how to prevent it in future. So that's really, I do the same with myself. Whenever something I see, okay, this is not good, and I say, okay, where it arises, and okay, I know this arises, and then I'm the attention really is like, when the guard know, okay, thieves comes this from this side, so okay, I'll make sure I'll be more, pay more attention that side. So yeah, like that, we also have to pay attention to our mind, our chitta, to be aware of the Mara, uh, to stop the Mara from coming, entering in our mind, in our body and speech. Yes, anyone else want to share your experience on the path, on the practice? Please welcome. Yes, Doug, please.
Thank you. This is kind of like a small thing, but just being able to be compassionate. Like I don't remember if it was somebody talking or if I read it, but it was the Buddha talking about like you can cure things like anger by doing something different, like having compassion. And that's helped me a lot. Because it's kind of, I don't like talking about traffic all the time because I deal with it all the time, but it's also where I experience the most stuff because I'm a truck driver and I'm by myself, so that's what I experience. And there's this moment a few weeks ago where it was just this construction zone. It was cutting down and everybody's jamming and trying to like fish fighting up a river, you know? And so I just started driving slower than everybody else, and everybody was going by, even the jerks and the ones, it doesn't matter because one thing that I really try to hold on to is that everybody is suffering and there's no qualifiers, there's no justifications. Everybody is suffering and it hurts as much for them as it does for me to suffer. And I don't need to think about that. And even if they're acting maliciously or selfishly, it doesn't matter. I can make it better just by driving a little bit slower and leaving space in front of me. And I've been trying to apply that to everything else as much as I can when I'm home and, around other people. But yeah, that was just something that I learned. Thanks.
Hmm. That's really nice, and I understand. I totally understand. Like when the things are not according to the situation, it's really hard to be kind to people, and it doesn't matter how hard you're trying. You're not seeing the result that you want to see, right? But then we feel like, okay, why should I should give up all the kindness, or do I deserve this, right? There's many question about that thing. But metta is like in the morning meditation, I also said you have to start doing metta for yourself first and then go to people. So I feel like when you're saying that, I when you're saying I can feel the suffering. You're suffering a lot from that also. You're holding some pain to that. So I will just forget about people. Just be kind to yourself first. I think you need the most right now. You are the one who needed the most, and then people, because everyone have their own kind of sufferings, and we can't change all people. We can't help all people. So once we help ourselves, automatically we are helping people at some point. But because you want to help people, don't make yourself suffer. If you make yourself suffer, you're not helping others also by doing that. So now you're saying like you're trying to drive slow, but it's like you're trying to hold on to it, that you want to be kind to people. That's why you are driving slow. But because you're holding on to it, so I can't say how long you will hold it, because you're thinking about others, you're not thinking about yourself. So once you start to think about yourself, you know what is good for you, what is better for you. So once you know that, it's like you will act according to that. And once you act according to that, it's like automatic people will accept you as it is. So it's like, don't force yourself to think about people. Buddha also didn't think about people. First, he thought like, what is dukkha? I want to find it. And once he find by himself, then he thought about people, that there is a many people who are suffering. So it started from him, and then it gone worldwide. But if we can't help ourselves, I don't think there's a way that we can help others. So I will recommend you, please do metta for yourself. Whenever you sit for meditation or doing, just say, I may be well, I'll be happy, I'll be healthy. So by doing that, you will feel happy, you will be, how to say, grateful, be joyful. And then when you are happy from inside, your surrounding also changes. And so that inner peace is important, not the outer peace. So that's why what's inside, it comes outside also. Try to be calm and peace. Just if you have in the morning, Chintana asked me about the sutta, what sutta she can practice. So I will recommend you the same, that you can read that suttas, or you can listen to that sutta. That suttas hold so much energy for metta. So you can read that, and that amazingly works so good, that the energy of that sutta, it makes so much difference in your life. So when you start to do that, I feel like you will improve a lot in your life, and you will have less suffering.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, anyone else? Anyone else have any question? I don't know when I will see all of you again, but maybe once I go back to India. But I really want to do some metta practice with all of you. Oh, Richard, please.
Thank you, Aya. Just one thing about meditation, like Daniel was discussing. It occurred to me one day that the Buddha didn't always have super ideal conditions for doing meditation. Because I lived in India as a monk many years ago when I was young, for a couple of years. And Buddha goes out somewhere to a field, and there's a tree there, and he says, "Oh, this would be good for striving, right? Big tree to live under." And there's a village nearby for alms, and a river nearby, some kind of waterway, for getting drinking water and bathing and stuff. And but if you think about it, if you've ever been out in those places, which actually I have, a lot of times you're under a tree in India, and there's hundreds of parrots squawking away in that tree. That's very common. Or the wind is blowing, so all the leaves are rustling, and the grass in the field is rustling. These aren't like total. We have a tendency, I think, like we see a picture of the Buddha, just a picture. It looks silent. Or we go into a temple, right? And the Buddha's sitting there, the form, right? It looks silent, right? But that doesn't mean that that's what he was experiencing all the time. Or a big storm comes up, makes a lot of noise, thunder and lightning, and so you have to kind of, yes, finding a nice quiet place, and Buddha does advise that, to try to find a quiet place, but that may not always be possible. So you have to kind of get your mind in it. And the way I do is by thinking, well, Buddha didn't always have a quiet place, but he persevered on. He kept going on. It's helped me a lot in terms of being disturbed by noise and stuff. Sometimes I don't really even notice it. Just by adopting that type of mentality. Anyways, thank you very much for listening. Hope that's helpful.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, you don't need any condition or any specific space to meditate or any specific kind of meditation. No, it's like in Buddha's time, there's many stories where we see like Buddha have teach many different kind of meditation to different people. So it's like doesn't like if Anapana Sati works for me, it doesn't matter like it works for you also. So maybe there is some other Kayana will work for you, Chittana will. So there's a different kind of meditation that people choose, and according to that they practice. So it's different from everyone, but I feel like everyone should start with the metta meditation, and I'm really looking forward to teach every one of you the metta meditation. I think all of us need so much metta in this life, for ourselves, for everyone around us, because everyone is having so much sufferings, and it's really hard to talk about that sufferings, right? Sometimes we feel so insecure to share like what people will say, how people will judge. So we're holding on so much, and that burden is so heavy that people are not living their life openly. They're not even eating properly because of that heaviness. They are not sleeping properly because of that weight. So it's it sounds so easy when Buddha said, just leave everything in that moment. Just don't take this moment with you everywhere, right? That was that was really profound. But when you try to practice it, it's not easy. It takes a lots of time and practice. But once you master in that, once you learn it, that it becomes so easy, and you feel so light. And even doesn't matter what happened around you or what happened with you, you just like let go. So in previous few years back, I was like, if you say something to me, I will think so much about it. I will hold on to so much. I will overthink about it. And by thinking that, I get sick for weeks and months. And then I feel like, why Buddha said this, that you should not hold in. This is so much suffering, right? And then I reflect on that. Is it beneficial for me, or is it beneficial for others? So I don't think it's beneficial for me, not others. If I'm suffering surrounding me, they're also suffering because they're seeing me suffering, you know? So I practice a lot. It takes us so much time. It took so much efforts, but now it's like, if I feel this is not beneficial for me, then I just leave it. And automatically, if I try to go into details, I don't remember those things. So now I look back in my previous time, and I was like, oh, I changed a lot. And now I feel so happy, I feel so light, and people around me feel says, oh, you're so relaxed, you're not tense, you not think about future. Of course I don't, because I know everything will change. Even if I plan, okay, I want to go there tomorrow, I don't know. So I'm not attached to that idea that I'm going there tomorrow, because I don't know what's happened today. So I can't expect tomorrow, right? So I think we should start with the metta meditation. All of us need a metta so much, and we should start with ourselves. I know it's not selfish. It Buddha said that we need metta first, and if we have the metta, we openly give to others. And once we have enough, and we give others enough, then we all be free from suffering together and be liberated together. So maybe not in December, but maybe in January. I'll take time, and maybe January, maybe we'll try to have a 2 or 3 meditation sessions on metta, and let all practice metta from our heart, from our mind, from our body, from our speech. Let us be kind to ourselves, to others, to all the living beings who needed it the most, and spread the metta all around the world, and make this place peaceful, beautiful, and lovable, with full of kindness, full of joy, and full of Dhamma. May all us grow in the path of the Dhamma and be attained supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very life. Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Gonna miss you, babe.
Gonna miss you.
Yes, likewise. I'll miss you all, and I'll hope to see you everyone on January, because in December we're going for chanting and then going for walking pilgrimage. So the whole December will be busy. So in January, hopefully I'll see all of you. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.